For eons, humans have yearned to understand the unexplainable. Stories of aliens, fantastical beasts, and divinity are as old as human history. From werewolves and vampires to yetis and sea monsters, such tales have aroused not just interest, but fear as well. But what if we told you that in the 19th and early 20th centuries, the meaning of monsters was pretty different from what it is now? During this era, monsters weren't mythical creatures. They were real people with dreams, wishes, and stories just like anyone else. They were unique individuals born with rare conditions that set them apart, placed under glaring lights for the world to see. These were men, women, and children whose bodies became their stage, labeled as freaks by society. But behind the banners and the crowds, they were so much more than the labels assigned to them. Let's look at the lives of 15 such bold and beautiful individuals from the Freakshow era whose unusual looks made them the monster in the eyes of what was considered normal society. Number 15. Lalu, the Happy Hindu. Lalu Rampersad, born in Oudh, India in the late 19th century, was one of the most unique performers of his time. He was born with a parasitic twin protruding from his chest. The twin, which was fully formed with arms, legs, and even a functioning reproductive organ, lacked its own head and depended entirely on Lalu's body for survival. Despite his condition, Lalu lived a vibrant and successful life as a sideshow performer. Marketed as the happy, healthy Hindu, he gained fame in Europe after being discovered by an English entrepreneur in 1888. Lalu later toured the United States, performing with renowned circuses like Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey. Lalu's performances fascinated audiences, but his life came to a tragic end in 1905 when he was killed in a train accident while traveling with the Norris and Roe Circus. Number 14. Maximo and Bartola, the Aztec Children. Maximo and Bartola's story is one wrapped in spectacle and exploitation. Born in El Salvador with microcephaly, their unusual appearance became the foundation for an elaborate hoax that captivated 19th century audiences. Their handler, an American promoter named Morris, fabricated a tale claiming the siblings were the last survivors of a lost Aztec civilization. He dressed them in elaborate costumes, adorned with supposed Aztec symbols, and spun a narrative that they were discovered in an ancient temple. The story was pure fantasy, but it worked. Crowds flocked to see them, believing they were gazing upon the remnants of a mystical past. Maximo and Bartola were exhibited across the United States and Europe, becoming key attractions in museums and sideshows. For decades, they were paraded as living proof of a long-lost civilization, even as the truth about their condition remained hidden. The siblings performed until the early 20th century, but what became of them after 1901 remains a mystery. Number 13. Millie and Christine McCoy, the Two-Headed Nightingale. Born into slavery in 1851 in North Carolina, Millie and Christine McCoy were conjoined twins with a bond deeper than just physical. Sharing a pelvis but possessing separate limbs and organs, the twins referred to themselves as one person with two souls. Their early lives were filled with exploitation. As infants, they were sold to showmen and exhibited as curiosities. But as they grew, their remarkable talent for singing and performing emerged, transforming them from mere sideshow attractions to celebrated performers. They learned multiple languages, wrote songs, and became known as the Two-Headed Nightingale. Following the Emancipation Proclamation, Millie and Christine gained their freedom, but chose to continue performing. They used their fame and earnings to support their family and improve their own lives. The twins retired to North Carolina, where they lived quietly until their deaths in 1912, passing away within hours of each other. Their lives, though marked by hardship, were a testament to resilience and grace, proving they were far more than just an oddity. Number 12. Jonathan R. Bass, The Ossified Man. Jonathan R. Bass, known as the Ossified Man, was a farmer from upstate New York who lived a normal life until his body was overtaken by a rare and debilitating condition. From childhood, he suffered from rheumatism, but it wasn't until his late 50s that his body became totally rigid. This severe condition left him immobile, with his frame locked in place like a statue. To make matters worse, cataracts robbed him of his eyesight, plunging him further into isolation. With no family left to support him, Jonathan turned to dime museums and sideshows as a means of survival. His emaciated form, weighing just 75 pounds due to a liquid-only diet, drew crowds from across the country. Despite his suffering, Jonathan was known for his resilience and good humor, often joking with visitors who marveled at his frozen posture. He passed away in 1892 from pneumonia. Number 11. Ella Harper, the Camel Girl. Born in Hendersonville, Tennessee, shortly after the Civil War, Ella had a condition known as congenital genu recurvatum, which caused her knees to bend backward. This gave her a gait unlike anyone else, and Ella found it easier to walk on all fours. To a society obsessed with turning the extraordinary into entertainment, this made her an instant attraction. Dubbed the Camel Girl, Ella became a headliner in W.H. Harris's Nickel Plate Circus, earning $200 a week, a fortune back then, about $5,000 today. But her fame came at a big price. The show paraded her alongside an actual camel, inviting crowds to gawk at the similarities. Ella tolerated the humiliation for just 1 year before quitting the freak show circuit entirely. After leaving the stage, she reportedly returned to Tennessee, where she pursued education and lived quietly. Sadly, her later life was marked by loss, including the deaths of her father and brother. And then on 19th December 1921, at 8:15 in the morning, she passed away. She was suffering from colon cancer, but the pain she had endured as the Camel Girl was far worse than the disease itself. Number 10. Violetta Wagner, the Beautiful Venus. Violetta Wagner, often referred to as the Beautiful Venus, was born in Germany without arms or legs. Despite her physical challenges, Violetta exuded grace and determination, becoming a celebrated performer in sideshows across the U.S., including Coney Island's Dreamland and Ringling Brothers Circus. Using only her mouth, she mastered daily tasks that many take for granted, dressing herself, combing her hair, and even sewing. Her elegance and poise were undeniable, and audiences were captivated by her beauty and talent. Violetta wore her wedding ring on a gold chain around her neck, a testament to her love and resilience. She was often described in glowing terms, with one 1940 review calling her a beauty queen without limbs. Tragically, Violetta passed away in 1940, but her life continues to inspire as an example of grace and strength in the face of adversity. Number 9. Martin Joe Lorello, the Human Owl. Martin Joe Lorello, famously known as the Human Owl, was born in Nuremberg, Germany in May 1885. His extraordinary ability to rotate his head 180 degrees made him a sideshow sensation. Lorello's unique skill was due to a spinal deformity that allowed his neck and upper spine to bend in ways unimaginable to most. When he turned his head, his spine curved into the shape of a question mark, a striking visual that captivated audiences. In 1921, he immigrated to the U.S., where his talent quickly caught the attention of sideshows like Ripley's Believe It or Not Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. Beyond his head-turning act, he was also a skilled dog trainer, teaching them to perform gymnastic tricks. Remarkably, while Lorello couldn't breathe when his head was rotated, he could still perform other jobs, like drinking water, leaving spectators in awe. Despite his fame, Lorello faced what was his fate, the human owl. We mean how cruel the freak show world could be. In 1955, due to a heart attack, he died at the age of 70. Number 8. Johnny Eck, the Half-Man. Johnny Eck wasn't just a performer, he was a legend. Born in Baltimore in 1911 with caudal regression syndrome, Johnny's legs were underdeveloped and non-functional, but his upper body was strong and agile. By the time he was a teenager, he had already embraced life as a sideshow performer, earning the nickname the Half-Man. Johnny's charm and wit captivated audiences. Whether he was performing acrobatics, pulling off jaw-dropping stunts, or simply showcasing his incredible strength, he made it clear he was more than a spectacle. He worked with the biggest circuses of the time, including the Ringling Brothers, and even landed roles in films like Freaks, 1932, and several Tarzan movies. But Johnny's story didn't end with the stage. After retiring, he returned to Baltimore, where he ran a penny arcade with his twin brother, Robert. Known for his artistic talents, Johnny painted intricate screens and put on neighborhood plays, bringing joy to those around him. He passed away in 1991, but we still miss him. Do you? Number 7. Schlitzie, the Pinhead. Born in 1901, Schlitzie Surtees was one of the most iconic performers of the Freakshow era. Born with microcephaly, a condition that resulted in a small skull and developmental delays, Schlitzie had the mental capacity of a young child, but a personality that lit up the stage. He performed in nearly every major circus of the 20th century, and is best remembered for his role in the 1932 cult classic film Freaks. Schlitzie's childlike innocence and charm won the hearts of many, but life wasn't always kind to him. Off-stage, he faced constant mockery and exploitation. One of his caretakers, George Surtees, treated him like family and ensured he was looked after. But when George died, Schlitzie was institutionalized until another performer stepped in to bring him back to the circus. Schlitzie spent the rest of his days performing, his joy for life shining through even the darkest of circumstances. He was not a monster, but a kind, unselfish, and beautiful soul. Number 6. Edward Mordrake, the Man with Two Faces. Edward Mordrake's story is one that straddles the line between fact and fiction, capturing imaginations for over a century. Born into English aristocracy, Edward was a gifted pianist and an intelligent, handsome young man, except for one horrifying feature. On the back of his head was a second face, grotesque and seemingly alive. It was said that this devil twin would sneer and whisper to him at night, driving Edward to the brink of madness. Plagued by its presence, Edward begged doctors to remove the face, but no one dared attempt such a procedure. By the age of 23, the torment became too much, and Edward tragically took his own life, leaving instructions for the second face to be destroyed after his death. While many aspects of his story have been debunked as a hoax, the haunting legend of Edward Mordrake remains a symbol of inner demons and societal cruelty. Number 5. Jack Earl, the Reluctant Giant. Jack Earl, born in 1906, stood out from an early age, literally. By the age of 13, he was nearly 7 feet tall, eventually growing to over 8 feet due to a condition called acromegalic gigantism. Despite his towering frame, Jack was a gentle soul with a flair for performance. After a brief stint in Hollywood, Jack suffered a serious injury that ended his acting career. Reluctantly, he joined the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, where he became a celebrated attraction. Jack often posed alongside smaller performers to emphasize his height, but he was known for his kindness and humility. After leaving the circus, Jack found a quieter life as a traveling salesman. He passed away in 1952 at the age of 46, remembered as a reluctant giant with a big heart. Number 4. Julia Pastrana, the Bearded Lady. Julia Pastrana was born in Mexico in 1834 with hypertrichosis, a condition that caused excessive hair growth on her face and body. Despite being labeled a human oddity, Julia was an accomplished singer and dancer who performed across the world. Audiences marveled at her talent while cruelly dubbing her the Baboon Lady. Julia's husband and manager, Theodore Lent, exploited her for financial gain, even displaying her embalmed body after her death in 1860. It wasn't until 2013 that Julia was finally laid to rest in her homeland, a poignant end to a life marked by both triumph and tragedy. All right, now, let's talk about the most famous person. Number 3. Francesco Lentini, the three-legged wonder. Born in Sicily in 1881, Francesco Lentini was one of 12 siblings, but he stood out for a unique reason. He was born with a fully formed third leg. Moving to the United States at the age of 8, Francesco became a beloved performer, captivating audiences with his charm and wit. Despite his condition, Francesco led a full life, marrying and having children. He often used humor to disarm audiences, famously saying, "Everyone has their burden to bear. Mine just happens to be 3 legs." Francesco's story is a testament to resilience, proving that he was far more than just a sideshow attraction. Number 2. George and Willie Muse, the Albino brothers. George and Willie Muse's story is one of resilience in the face of unimaginable cruelty. Born in the late 19th century in Virginia, the Albino brothers were kidnapped as children by a sideshow promoter. Forced to perform under degrading names like the Men from Mars, they were paraded across the country while being lied to about their mother's death. Years later, their mother, Harriet Muse, miraculously reunited with them after attending one of their performances. Freed from their exploiters, George and Willie eventually renegotiated contracts that allowed them to support their families. The brothers retired in the 1950s and spent their later years recounting their incredible journey. Willie lived until 2001, passing away at the age of 108. Number 1. Alice Elizabeth Daugherty, the Werewolf Girl. Alice Daugherty, born in Minneapolis in 1887, was one of the rarest sideshow performers of her time. She had hypertrichosis lanuginosa, a genetic condition that caused her body to be covered in soft, golden hair. Dubbed the Werewolf Girl, Alice's unique appearance drew crowds wherever she went. Despite her life in the public eye, Alice lived surrounded by the love and support of her family. Her parents ensured her performances in curiosity shows were a means to provide for her future. Alice's dignity and grace shone through, and she became a beloved figure in the circus world. Hope you have enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and drop your comments on what you think about the Freakshow era.